The Israeli elections are a little over a month away, and this week saw a bombshell drop as Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit recommended indicting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for 3 different corruption charges pending a final hearing. The revelation that the Prime Minister will be charged with bribery, fraud, and breach of trust comes just as Netanyahu is running for re-election. This was, of course, reflected in the polls as Netanyahu's Likud party dropped down and Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz's joint blue and white party soared. Add to this a growing chorus of voices in Israel and abroad calling for Netanyahu's resignation, and there is a distinct possibility that his tenure as prime minister will come to an end April 9th. Well, given everything that is happening here in Israel, the question remains, how will the outcome of the Israeli elections affect Jewish communities around the world and the Israel-Diaspora relationship? Here with us to discuss is Rabbi Ariel Konstanyn from Tzohar. Thanks for joining us. So Israel is the home, or the second home, to Jews around the world. Can we assume that the outcome of the election will affect Jewish communities?
I think that Jewish communities are definitely following this election very, very closely and want to see a change and want to connect deeper to Israel to a large degree. But I think the rift that we've been feeling for a number of years is not necessarily indicative of exclusively an Israeli diaspora problem, but I think it's a general problem in politics. I think that in general the politicians are pandering towards more extreme elements, both on the left and on the right. We see it in the U.S. It's ripping apart families and friends on which side of the political spectrum they are. And I think that this perhaps is a symptom of a larger problem. I think that the centrist voice is really lacking. And therefore, I don't know that this election will necessarily bring out that central voice that I think we're all thirsting for and hoping for.
Well, yes, we're seeing sort of a rift between the right and the left in Israel and globally, as you just mentioned. And I'm curious, how do you think the outcome of the elections will affect the relationship between Israel and the diaspora, given this new world that we live in?
I don't know that it's going to affect it that much, to be honest. While on the one hand, there are, Netanyahu with the right-wing and ultra-Orthodox parties are pulling towards a particular point of view that is very much disenfranchising more liberal streams of Judaism. On the other hand, you have the left wing who have pushed out almost all of the religious members of their list to unrealistic positions. I think there's only one of the top 10 who has modern Orthodox, and therefore you're seeing, again, a polarization on both sides. And that polarization alone is creating and will continue to create a major rift. And I think that we have to find a language that is a language of togetherness and that Israel is a place for all. Our goal is really to bridge society, whether it's Netanyahu or Lapid Gantz. We have to bridge to the other side of the spectrum and say, we are working together and we need to realize we're one nation wherever we are around the world. And I want to hear more of those voices on both sides.
Well, you've actually brought up an interesting point, which is religion.
Yes.
Right? One of the major rifts between Israel and the diaspora is the issue of religion. And of course, this is more pronounced with the right-wing government that includes ultra-Orthodox parties. So what are your thoughts on this?
I do think that we have to change the system. To enable to embrace a larger spectrum of Judaism within the Rabbanut and within the Israeli culture and within the Israeli society, to say we have multiple views and we're going to embrace those multiple views. And I see that coming out of actually even a right-wing party like Bennett, who had created, when he was Minister of Religion, the Israel-Diaspora, the joint area in the Kotel, that actually came out of that address, which you would expect it to come out from the other side. So I don't know if left and right is really what we're looking for here. I think we're looking for a direction on either side that's going to say, we embrace the totality of the Jewish people.
If we break it down, how do you think that if Lapid and Gantz were to join, and they keep talking about unity, and all these messages that you're saying, that's sort of their party platform, we need to bridge the gaps. And how do you think this will affect the Israel-Diaspora relationship, if at all?
I would hope that it would. If Gantz and Lapid win, I would hope that their platform and their message and their slogans stand true to message. Okay. Unfortunately, we've seen many an election and slogans, read my lips, etc., that have swayed from the message. But again, we can only be hopeful that if Gantz and Lapid win, they will stick true to the message and be a true fig leaf to all, and reach out an olive branch to all elements of society.
Now, if Prime Minister Netanyahu is reelected for another term, we've recently seen growing tensions between him and some of his major supporters or his major base, especially among, let's say, American Jews who've come out, and actually some have called for his resignation. There's been recent tension given some of the political deals that he's done. Mm-hmm. Is this sort of a wake-up call for the Prime Minister, and will he have his work cut out for him in bridging the gap if he's reelected?
No question he has his work cut out for him. That's for sure. Even within Orthodox, the Young Israel national movement came out in support, and many Young Israel synagogues, very much spoke there. You don't represent us, you don't speak for us, and we don't agree with some of these political deals. On the other hand, there's a few things that have to be said. Number one is that Netanyahu is reaching for every vote, and so it shouldn't go to waste. And I think left wing is doing the same as well, and bridging elements with more radical elements on both sides. I think people want to maximize this election possibility. So I don't think it's unilateral on the Netanyahu side, although he's getting more of the flack as prime minister.
Yeah.
Number two, I think one of the things that we were talking a lot about his indictment and should he resign, and calls for his resignation. I think that if he stays, that will create more of a rift. I think it shouldn't, in a sense that it should only strengthen our view on Israeli democracy. The fact that we have, and it's very, very sad and painful to hear that there's a former prime minister, president, and chief rabbi who sit in jail. That breaks our hearts. On the other hand, it is a testament to the strength of the Israeli democracy. I think we should look at it and say, wow, I wonder even if the U.S. as the benchmark democracy could hold up to Israeli standard of democracy. And that being said, we also believe in innocent until proven guilty. And while indictments come down, we have to also give the benefit of the doubt to the court system to be able to determine innocence or guilt. And predetermining that is not fair to any citizen, including a prime minister.
Absolutely. And regardless of the election outcome, Tzahal works towards bridging the gap between religious and secular Jews in Israel, and I think around the world is the message that you want to convey here. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Tzahal is an organization that, exactly as you said, is trying to bridge the gap between the secular and the religious, and to build a unified force of we are together, we are one nation. And there's simple love, non-judgmental love, caring for the other as the other. In my synagogue, in the Tel Aviv International Synagogue, we built a synagogue that's packed now over Shabbat, 400 or 500 people, mostly secular and traditional, who were very, very wary at the beginning, but they realized that there's non-judgmentalism, there's acceptance as you are for who you are. There's no interest in changing or forcing or trying to dictate their lives, but rather to embrace everyone as they are. And I truly and honestly believe that everybody has positive elements that maybe far outweigh my own. We are all good. We're all reaching out to each other, not with the agenda to change anyone, but to recognize what unifies us is far greater than what divides us, and we should embrace that unity and agree to disagree with respect and understanding for each other. A
message that I hope whoever will be the next prime minister will adopt.
Please,
Rabbi Konstanyn, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
My pleasure.